What does that mean to you, Black History Month?
It means that that's racism because they don't celebrate White History Month. We don't have it. I'm part Italian. I don't have Italian History Month. So what I think it's doing is perpetuating what this divide is in our nation, quite honestly, because I don't feel like that should be highlighted. I don't think that they should be pushing their agenda on myself because I'm a straight male, I have a wife, and I have children. I don't think that I should have to be bombarded and brainwashed through media, through those months or Pride, Black History. I don't think that's something that should be, dictated to me.
Is it a learning opportunity?
Not at all, because when I was in school, we learned, certain Black leaders, things like that. I don't need to hear it every single year for a whole month.
There'll be no more moving of the goalposts ever fucking again. No more. Instead of attending the dignified transfer of 4 soldiers who died, Donald Trump spends millions of taxpayer money to go golfing again and promote one of his little businesses and rub elbows with the who's who. This man has never given a fuck or had an ounce of respect for any veteran. I knew it the day he said what he said about John McCain. Oh, and that reporter, the one who said he called them suckers and losers. Yeah, I guess he was lying, though. Like he lied about Pete Hegseth, right? Fuck out of here. There'll be no more. The goalposts are in fucking concrete. Fuck you. And fuck him. This guy doesn't love his fucking country. He hates his fucking place because it's tried to hold him accountable. And he's such a fucking loser and has made such an ass out of himself with things he has done, like ripping off St. Jude's and the Central Park 5, and I can go on and on, paying a porn star. Don't you ever tell me he loves this fucking country or that you love this country if you voted for this pig and you still support him.
7 men sentenced this week for sexual crimes. All white. 4 church leaders. 3 law enforcement. Not one person of color. Not one drag queen. Who's really the threat?
Delta Airlines is now facing a federal discrimination suit after a white flight attendant kicked off a black woman who was flying first class, claiming she looked at her wrong. On March 27th, Teresa Hudson Jordan was flying first class with her daughter, and she was speaking with her. While she looked up, she made eye contact with the white flight attendant, and the white flight attendant apparently did not take it well. Jordan claims she looked up and made eye contact and never said a word to the woman. The flight attendant then began screaming at her, stating, "Don't look at me like that. Don't eye me up and down. If you can't comply with my commands, then I'll turn this plane around and we can go back to the gate." Jordan told the flight attendant that she would, quote, comply with what she was asking, and bystanders state that they've never seen an incident like this happen before, that Jordan was not causing any sort of disruption. But the flight attendant went up to the cockpit and told the pilot that she was causing a disruption and being a disturbance to everybody around her. The pilot then moved to turn the plane around and had Jordan escorted off the plane. Another bystander who witnessed the altercation said Jordan was being treated like a dog or a slave. Delta has yet to comment, stating they are waiting for this to go through litigation, but they support and claim that they do not participate in any sort of discrimination. This is deplorable, but this is the kind of America that half this country wants to live in right now.
Breaking news, 3 Yale University professors, Jason Stanley, Marcy Shore, and Timothy Schneider, who authored the books How Fascism Works, On Tyranny, and Erasing History, have fled the United States in fear that America is turning into a fascist dictatorship. If not 1, but 3 Yale University professors who have dedicated their lives and careers to studying fascism, authoritarian governments, propaganda, and rhetoric that leads to the mass unaliving of people, I think it's worth paying attention to. The Lemkin Institute of Genocidal Studies has also put the United States on red flag alert for genocide. If you're not paying attention to what's going on in the US, I highly recommend that you do. It doesn't matter if you've never cared about politics before. It's no longer just about politics, it's about human rights. The mass dehumanization and unaliving of people of color, of trans people, of LGBTQ, of people with mental disorders and mental illnesses. This is a dangerous time in America right now, and I suggest, please, pay attention. Not for me, but for yourself and for your family and for your loved ones. If you've never cared about politics before, you're like me. I've never cared about paying attention to current events or news, but right now I think it's really pressing that more and more people start paying attention. A good place to start for you is not to just look at current events, but mostly start reading books. Read the books of the 3 professors that just fled the country who wrote the books that break down the patterns of authoritarian governments and fascism, how fascism works, On Tyranny, Erasing History, and those are really great places to start so you can look at what's happening in America through the lens of history and patterns of authoritarian governments instead of just the political narratives and the discourse happening between like one policies and those types of things. Look at it from a bigger perspective so you can critically think and make better discernment judgments on how you can navigate during this crazy time. I love you guys like I love myself. Be safe, and that's all I'm reporting today.
America, following on from my last video, I just want to let you know, we see you. All your protests are coming through. It's very hard to censor media in the UK. It's all coming through. We see you. We're so proud of you. You've not resorted to violence. You're doing what needs to be done. You know the traps that are being set. It's amazing. You are leading right now, and it's amazing. And it's getting out. Europe sees it. The EU sees it. We all see it. And something you may not know, might not get reported there, after that journalist being added to that group text chat, Donald Trump is an absolute joke. You should see the media over here. They are ripping him apart. What you're doing is making a difference, and we support you in that. We know what's happening in April. Love the fact people of colour are staying at home. They know it's an excuse to use them. And I love the fact a lot of white folk in America are saying, yeah, you're right, you should stay at home, let us do this. That's amazing as well. You've got everything going for you now. Don't give up. It's being seen. We're there for you, okay? We see you. We see you.
Hey there, folks. So, they want to call today, April 7th, Black Monday. Nah, fuck that shit. It's either Orange Monday or White Monday, because what they're wanting to do is whitewash America. But we're not having it, are we? What you motherfuckers saw on April 5th? Be scared. Because like I always said, we're not under a mandate. Guess what? You motherfuckers are under a mandate. It's time to impeach the Orange Von Shittis Pants. And like I always say, fuck you maggots.
I think young people need to drink more. I don't see drunkenness, I see togetherness. My advice to young people is to go out and drink more and make a series of bad decisions that might pay off. I think that we need more togetherness, more people, more sex, more random encounters. And absolutely, people need to be in the company of strangers more and more. And I think young men are sequestering. We're turning into a different species of asexual, socially isolated, lonely people who become shitty citizens. And when women don't have a romantic relationship, they reinvest in work and their friends. When men don't have a relationship, they tend to just go down a rabbit hole.
Y'all, we owe the Black community a huge apology. And there are like a million different reasons why we owe the Black community apologies. But there's a specific one that I want to address here. In the last election, if you looked at the demographics of voters, take a look at that. You will see that it was Black people who tried to save this country. They showed up, they voted because they knew exactly what Trump was. And we failed them. And we failed this country. Despite their most valiant effort, there was just too many MAGA voters who wanted a king to rule the United States. And now, on April 5th, there's going to be organized protests all around this country, the Hands Off movement, to protest Trump and Musk. And I've seen a lot of videos from Black TikTokers who the theme of we're sitting this one out. We're sitting this one out. And absolutely respectably, so why would anybody want to show up after trying to show up and being treated that way? Why? So now it's incumbent upon the rest of us to fucking show up this weekend. Look for your local protests, because some of you who voted for Trump, I promise you by now, you have also been victimized by Trump. So you voted the way you voted, you made this happen, but let's fucking band together and show up for the community that tried to support us, also for ourselves too. We have to look out for ourselves because these politicians are not looking out for us. So check your local, news outlets and look for where there are protests happening. There's one in Detroit this weekend. There's one in different cities in Metro Detroit. Show up. Show up. We have to protest this.
If you're a white person on the right side of history, I need you to hear me out for a second. Collectively, we need to start treating red hats, MAGA, like racist people treat black people. You may already know how to do this, but if you don't, here's some pointers. If you're a woman and you're walking down the street and someone wearing a MAGA hat is walking toward you, I need you to clutch your purse and I need you to cross the street. If you get sat in a restaurant next to a MAGA person or near a MAGA person, I need you to request a new table. Bonus points if you tell the hostess or host why you want to be seated elsewhere. Triple bonus points if you make it known that you will wait for another table. If you work in retail and you see a red hat in the store, follow them around. If you're a receipt checker at like Walmart or Costco, take extra time to review their receipts. Count their items. Make it inconvenient. If you roll up to a red light and you look out your window and you are next to a MAGA person, make eye contact and then roll up your window. If you see a MAGA woman with multiple children out somewhere, strike up a conversation and then ask if all the kids have the same dad. If you see a person in a red hat walking around your neighborhood, figure out a way to report a suspicious person, whether that's calling the cops or just making a comment on your Ring app or updating your local neighborhood Facebook group. If you're on any form of public transportation and you see one of these people sitting and there's an open seat next to them, choose to stand. And if they offer you the seat, say, "No, I'm good. Please note that I did not say thank you." If you're forced to engage with them, ask them where they're from. And when they tell you that they're from Ohio or West Virginia or something like that, say, "No, but like where are you really from?" And that's just a start. If you have some more, leave it in the comments.
I was raised in a white supremacist household, and it didn't look anything like what most people think. And that's really the case with most people with this ideology throughout our country and the world. Most of them don't have a ton of tattoos or practice outwardly hateful things, but they share this ideology and they teach it to their children. Now that I get later on in life, I enjoy reading about this stuff. I enjoy kind of dissecting how these people's brains work and why my brain works different, or why I learn to think differently, rather, I guess. If you're at all interested in this stuff, this book that I just picked up, I cannot put down now. It's called The Hate Next Door, and it is all about how these people are everywhere and how to understand the ideology, recognize it, and combat it so we don't let it into the highest offices in our land to destroy our country. So make no mistake about it, people. Everything that's happening right now is rooted in racism.
know who was largely responsible for creating scientific racism in the United States? For several centuries, the U.S. spread bogus theories of black inferiority, supposedly backed by science, attempting to rationalize slavery and centuries of oppression. In 1787, more than a decade after helping to write the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson published Notes on the State of Virginia, a pseudo-scientific study of his state's geography, climate, religion, and enslaved population. So let's read some of what Jefferson had to write about black people, and I've got to read this. Quote, "In general, their existence appears to participate more of sensation than reflection." Interesting, coming from a person whose fancy boy life of leisure was built totally on the backs of the enslaved. He goes on, quote, "In imagination they are dull and tasteless. This unfortunate difference of color and perhaps of faculty is a powerful obstacle to the emancipation of these people." Jefferson goes on, quote, "The differences fixed in nature are not the fine mixtures of red and white, the expressions of every passion by greater or less suffusions of color in the one, white people, preferable to that eternal monotony which reigns in the countenances, that immovable veil of black which covers all the emotions of the other race." So he's basically arguing that black people are inherently inferior and they can't be trusted because we can't tell when they're blushing. Yes, Jefferson was taken seriously when he wrote this. He goes on to say, quote, "They secrete less by the kidneys and more by the glands of the skin, which gives them a very strong and disagreeable odor. This greater degree of transpiration renders them more tolerant of heat." Translation, black people can tolerate the heat of the plantation because they sweat adequately, but they sure do stink while doing so. Jefferson also describes black people's, quote, "disposition to sleep when unemployed in labor, an animal whose body is at rest. Comparing them by their faculties of memory, reason, and imagination, it appears to me, Jefferson, that in memory they are equal to the whites, in reason much inferior." So the book made clear that when Jefferson wrote that, quote, "all men are created equal," he wasn't really talking about black people. And this book marked the beginning of white people's quest to use science to prove their superiority, and some have never stopped. This has led to many pseudoscientific things like eugenics or craniometry or phrenology or IQs, all in an attempt to prove white superiority. Recent examples would be the bell curve or Roseanne Barr's tweets comparing Valerie Jarrett to an ape, or even in many comments here on TikTok. Indeed, Adolf Hitler studied the US and how it distorted science to rationalize oppression. And scientific racism was socially acceptable beginning in the 18th century all the way through the World War II era, when it took the Holocaust to show the world the logical and inevitable endpoint of scientific racism. That's it. Have a good day. Hope that helps.
Let's talk about implicit racism. In 2003, a grad student named Diva Pager did a really fascinating real-world study to test whether employers were racist. She applied to a bunch of real jobs with fake resumes. All of the resumes were exactly identical except for two things. The first thing was the name at the top. She made half of them sound white and half of them sound black. The second thing was whether or not the applicant had a criminal record. Her results were fascinating. This graph shows the number of times an employer would call back one of Diva's fake applicants. Just so we're all on the same page, this half of the graph is applicants with a criminal record, this half is without a criminal record, and the people in orange are white, the people in blue are black. So let's read the graph. On both the criminal record and no criminal record side, white applicants were way more likely than black applicants to get a call back for a job. But what a lot of people think is most fascinating is that even when white people did have a criminal record, they were still more likely to get a call back than a black person who had never committed a crime. Textbook racism.
Blonde highlights on a black woman are unnatural. Well, at a Chick-fil-A in Concord, North Carolina, they seemed to think so and sent home this lovely young woman, Autumn Williams, who was a worker there, and said she needed to take out the blonde highlights from her braids. Unbelievable. She was told her hair violated the standards, which said hairstyles must be neat and professional in appearance. Unnatural hair colors or eccentric styles such as mohawks, shaven designs, etc. are not permitted. You may be thinking, Deborah, put on your employment lawyer hat for a minute. Is this legal? Can employers create grooming standards around your personal appearance? And the answer is generally yes, as long as they are reasonable, fairly applied, and don't cause problems for the workers. But obviously, it looks more like discrimination if that standard is being applied unfairly and in particularly only toward people of color. You may be thinking, Deborah, didn't we already deal with this? Wasn't there something that made it illegal to discriminate based on braids or other natural hairstyles? Called the Crown Act? Yes, the Crown Act stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, and it prohibits discrimination based on an individual's texture or style of hair. Federally, the Crown Act has passed the House, but it did not get support in the Senate. Several states have passed it, but not North Carolina. Ms. Williams says she interpreted unnatural to mean pink or blue hair. The supervisor told her, well, blonde is unnatural to you. Do we have to get into a discussion of genetics? People of all different ethnic backgrounds can have blonde hair. This is my son Levi as a baby. Now, the folks at Chick-fil-A have apologized. The owner said it was an educational moment for the staff, and they invited Miss Williams back to her job, which she has politely declined. Instead, she's filed a complaint with the EEOC.
You've never heard that stereotype for black women? You've never heard of them getting denied from jobs because their hair doesn't look professional? You've never heard of them getting denied from schools because their hair doesn't look professional? Okay. Never will you see a blonde woman being denied from a job simply because she is blonde. You will see black women being denied from jobs because their hair looks unprofessional. Also, the way that a lot of black people speak, AAVE, that is seen as unprofessional or uneducated. So yes, this stereotype does absolutely apply to black women.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I discovered this brand new thing. Like, no one's had this before, so everyone's asking me about it. I'll drop the recipe soon, but it's from Trader Joe's. It's brand new. It's never been done before. So it's called a Sloppy Joe flatbread. So it comes like this, but they do like Brooklyn style, so you actually fold it to eat it. But it's so good. So it's like chopped up meat, kind of like Sloppy Joe style. And you can put like hot sauce on it if you want. They gave me like the option for onions, but I didn't want to have onion breath. But anyways, so it's the Sloppy Joe flatbread, and you just eat it Brooklyn style. It's so good, but I'm gonna drop the recipe soon. You can only get all these items at Trader Joe's. Literally nowhere else has this kind of flatbread and this meat, and then I'll show you guys the Tajin that I've been putting on my...
A white woman may have secured her spot in the Columbusing Hall of Fame after claiming that she invented an accessory used by black women ever since the beginning of time. In an article with Fashion Magazine, entrepreneur Sarah Marantz Lindenberg claims she came up with the idea of a washable silk head wrap that prevents breakouts and preserves hairstyles. My concept came out of a problem that needed solving, explained Marantz, who founded the company, Nightcap, to sell her so-called invention that was already being used by millions of black women every day. It inspired me to create something of my own. What she created was basically a version of the same head wrap that was invented by Madam C.J. Walker in 1906. And the only difference between Lindenberg's bonnet and the one worn by black women who have been on a natural hair journey is that Lindenberg sells her bonnets for $98 to white people. But Lindenberg's bonnet is different. First of all, it's organic, which means, okay, I don't know what the hell that means. I thought all silk was organic. But maybe Becky the bonnet maker knows about a secret Monsanto robot silkworm experiment. Or perhaps she is part of a plot to start a transatlantic silkworm trade. I bet Sarah is a silk supremacist. Lindenberg does, however, offer a few uses for her head wrap that black women have probably never thought of, including wearing them to the gym, stopping her hair from curling at night due to night sweats, and, I swear this is true, supporting the regrowth of all the little baby hairs she had. Edges, Sarah. They are called edges. And of course the black community didn't have it, and rightly so. That said, the fact a white woman is claiming she invented bonnets will forever be the joke of the decade. What else have white people invented?
So white people are mad they're being treated poorly the same way they treated everyone else. What Trump is doing to America has never been seen before. A country that decimated 130 million Native Americans just to steal millions and millions of Africans and have slavery. That president is doing something that's never been done before. Or is it that people that historically have never been impacted are now finally being treated the way everyone else has been treated? And they're just having their rights infringed upon for the first time ever. Project 2025 and everything Trump is doing didn't start yesterday. You think what Donald Trump is doing is new? 2020, you never said anything about black lives. Never acknowledged genocidal isn't real. Never saying anything about Philistine last year, yesteryear, today, never. Never said anything about indigenous people, even though over 50% of indigenous women have been SA'd. Never said anything about disabled people who are treated like a second-class society and in the United States even have to be paid a minimum wage. And you've never said anything about trans people who are unalived simply for existing. Out of all the atrocities America has committed to marginalized people, what Trump is doing is by far the worst? That's what you think. Okay, I'm glad that a lot of you YT people are fighting for some form of liberation. Just sucks that the only reason you're fighting is because you're being impacted. It's been happening forever. You're just now slightly feeling something.
You see, it's white people like this that give other white South Africans a really cock name. I'll be tortured if I'm sent back home because I'm white, says South African woman who stole 9 million from US government. No, you're an absolute cretin for stealing from people. Come back to South Africa and nobody is going to torture you. You're just going to be an embarrassment for white people and South Africans in this country for shaming us overseas, for defrauding the government and stealing money from people. Shame on you for being such a terrible human being. Stop using your skin color as an excuse to come back to a country where the people are going to criticize you for giving us a cuck name overseas. It's as simple as that. Stop using this bullshit excuse because there are people that need protection and you are giving us all a cuck name.
Warn you that your racism is showing, but I don't think you care. DEI, I'm going to give you the definition of it. It means for diversity, equality, and inclusion. Did you know that if it wasn't for DEI initiatives, half the veterans wouldn't get a job? Yep. I could tell you to look it up, but I know you won't do that. But I'm letting you know that here, that getting rid of DEI is going to create more homeless veterans. But I mean, that's what your party's about anyways. They don't care about the veterans. They pretend they do. They don't. They don't. Because your party doesn't care about people. Your party only cares about making the rich richer and stomping on everybody else, even though your party loves the uneducated.
You wrote, that still doesn't make it okay to be racially prejudiced. Right, that makes sense. We get to be the ones that keep a system of racial oppression alive while ignoring or outright denying the experience of black folks in this country. And then we get to tell black people that that still doesn't make it okay for them to be racially prejudiced towards us. As if it were a choice. I mean, this is nature, my friend. If one group of people consistently shows themselves to be harmful to you, what are you going to do? At the very least, you're going to have some feelings about how they treat you. And the truth is, we should be grateful that black folks have chosen over and over again to be humane towards us in the face of our inhumane treatment of them.
But what about Oprah and what about Obama and what about, have you heard this? This yeah, but, this exceptional black person argument that white people use to block having to talk about it? Well, Jay-Z and Kanye and Michael and they all fly in private jets and have millions of dollars. I don't have that. There's nothing wrong with black people. Black people aren't a racial minority. They don't have racial issues. There's no problem there. We're all the same. They're rich. This exceptional white person argument has been happening in America for 100 years. And it's crap. You need to know. I need to know every day that it's crap. That more than 50% of the people who are poor in America are black. Jay-Z might be worth $1 billion and he might fly in private jets to be on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Yep, but that's not the way black America lives. Most of black America is one paycheck from a disaster. Yeah, but is blocking, and it shows an inherent lack of capacity and lack of compassion about what's really going on in black America. It's saying, I don't want to know. Don't tell me anything. But you and I need to check ourselves first. Do you have a yeah, but? Are you saying, no, I don't have to worry about that because they. No. Anytime I yeah, but, or I have somebody in my life, what we're doing is we're blocking the truth about racism.
It should be obvious by now, but white men are the most discriminated against people in America. For example, LinkedIn has just released a new feature that allows employers to literally block out people who aren't diverse, aka white men, from their job searches. In Massachusetts, nonprofits that are 50% white male are banned. Universities are now teaching classes called Angry White Male Studies, and at my university, and this is not a joke, there is a class being taught called The Problem of Whiteness. So the question is, how much longer will white men tolerate all of this before they either do something about it or drop out of society entirely? I mean, why even pay taxes to a system that treats them like this? Things will only get worse, and these are serious concerns.
Hey there, let's chat about a really important read. I'm challenging myself to read 150 books in 2024, and They Were Her Property was book 93 for me for the year. This book feels like, for all white people in the United States, particularly white women, it should be required reading. This book has further dispelled myths and half-truths and outright lies that I certainly was led to believe as a young person, and just has given me such a greater depth of understanding of the way that white women were very actively participating in the American slave trade, in having human property, in the way that they treated their slaves, all of it. Their reaction whenever the Civil War was over and the Emancipation Proclamation came to be, all of those things are covered in this book in great detail. There are excellent and very impactful firsthand accounts from people on both sides of it, from these white women who were committing these atrocities, as well as the enslaved individuals who suffered at the hands of these women. So I cannot recommend it enough. It is hard material. It will, if you challenge yourself to read it, and I hope that if you are a white person that you do, that there is lots to grapple with, lots to process, lots to think through. It feels like something that I'm sure I did not digest everything just on one read, that it's a book that I wish that I owned so that I could comb through it and I could review and look at a lot of these passages again. There is a particularly harrowing chapter that really struck a chord with me about enslaved women as wet nurses and what all of that said about mothering. There is just so much here, and it's just, as I said, so important. So I really, really hope that if you haven't read this yet, that you will check this out. Happy reading.
Realize how brainwashed we are. As white people, we're conditioned to feel superior. And it's not about truth, it's about control. White supremacy doesn't just harm others, it harms us too. We're manipulated into blaming global majority communities for all of society's ill. From crime, economic hardship, housing issues, we're conditioned to other people and blame them for our problems. It's all a lie. Who are the people that actually create these problems? The corporate elites and our political system which enable this, through the hoarding of wealth and power inequity. White supremacy keeps us distracted, keeps us blaming people from global majority backgrounds, prevents us from unifying, stopping us from questioning who is really benefiting. Our media continuously spread a false narrative, making out that white people are losing power when actually they're losing their dominance, these elites. Ask yourself, who really benefits from this fear that they're stirring up? It's certainly not white working class communities whilst they drive down wages and force poor public services on us. So we have to acknowledge that having a white skin does give us advantages in this community. But it's not protecting us from poverty, rubbish jobs, poor public services, failing education, and a declining quality of life. This is the elites that are causing that. Certainly not immigrants, and certainly not global majority communities. White supremacy keeps you defending systems that are actually harming you. White supremacy keeps you blaming and othering global majority individuals and communities. So if you're ready to unlearn your social conditioning and see through the lies of this system, get in touch. I'm happy to help you.
R. You got 5 seconds. R. 3. He said R.
I think conservative ideology after this can never be a thing anymore. Having a group of people who all believe in the exact opposite of progress, like, it just doesn't work in terms of progressing as a society. Like, it just doesn't. You can't have one group of people that are working actively against progress and expect them not to eventually
stoop to these levels. I don't think it's a coincidence that it always ends up here. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that they consistently start to lose in history, and then they fucking throw out the playbook and just start doing some really evil, heinous shit for 50 years to get people really, really, like, it's fucking, it's disgusting. It's evil. These are evil people. They're evil. They just are. Not necessarily the people that have been manipulated into following it. The people causing this. The ideology itself is evil. It just is. I don't mean like a biblical evil. It's textbook evil. And I don't think it should be allowed to be around anymore. And I don't think that's an insane take to have, actually. I don't think it's an insane take to be like, hey, these evil people throughout history who have all done the exact same shit over and over again, why don't we just stamp out everything they stand for? Everything they stand for. Like, it should be so easy to look at these people the second they start spewing any of this shit, to look at these people in society and go, hey, stone them. Something to that effect. Like, do something to these people that are just causing chaos. That they exist to hold people back, lift 4 people forward while holding billions back. Like, that's what they exist to do. And we're just going to let that be. That's just going to keep happening always. Always, forever. It's just going to keep happening over and over again. Cool. Awesome, man. Like, I don't even fucking know anymore then.
Hank, I'm sorry that I've left you hanging with this question for so long. As somebody who lives in a country that famously hates Arabs, I find this question a little bit weird, but I feel like I spoon-feed you too much information, so I'm going to empower you with an assignment. Learn about the Arab slave trade, actually learn about chattel slavery in the United States, recognize who continues to harm black people in the United States today, and the answer will magically appear. If after completing the assignment you still don't know the answer, just take the L. I can't help you. I never said that I was a panacea for SOS.
I went to my protest this weekend, and I have some big feelings about it. First and foremost, I was really excited to see almost 10,000 people show up in my little town of Asheville after going through everything that we went through. Like, that was amazing. That being said, the vast majority of them fucking sucked. Everybody that I was standing around, I mean everybody, talked the entire time. They did not shut up and listen to the people that were speaking. And we had incredible speakers, veterans that spoke, heads of the Department of Education, Special Ed, just incredible Good Trouble, the head of the Good Trouble Department of Chapter of Western North Carolina. We had incredible speakers there delivering incredible speeches. And these people did not shut the fuck up about what? Their second homes, their big vacations that they're going on, their friends that have second homes and their vacations that they're going on. They did not shut the fuck up the entire goddamn time. I had to listen to them ramble on the entire fucking time. Didn't matter where I moved to, the conversation was the exact same every fucking where I went. It was disgusting. That really bothered me. I went covered head to toe. You could not see what I looked like. I was covered head to toe. You could only see my eyes. I turned my phone off at 8 o'clock in the morning and I left it at home. I left my kid with my family and I left $5,000 at my house in case I needed to be bailed out. That is how serious I took this event, because that is what I thought was going to happen. That's what I hoped was going to happen. I thought that there was going to be some revolutionary action that took place. Instead, it was born to be mild. It was a lot of mayonnaise. That's what it was. It was millions of white people being white people. That's what it was. And it made not a fuck bit of difference. Nothing has changed. There's been no radical change. The millions of people that showed up. Amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing that many people showed up. Super cool. That many people took a couple hours out of their Saturday to show up in beautiful weather and hang out and chit chat and have a good time and all that. Yeah. And then after that, I decided to go over and, of course, pick my daughter up and decided to talk about what happened and tell my parents that, hey, by the way, for my kids' birthdays, I'm getting them their passports so that in case we need to, get the fuck out of this country. And also because of the SAFE Act, you guys need to get your passports as well, mom and sister. You need to do that because of the SAFE Act. And they said, what's the SAFE Act? And I said, the SAFE Act, because they're going to keep you from being able to vote because you have your husband's last names. And they were like, oh, Meredith, did you learn that on TikTok? And I said, I did learn that on TikTok. But you do know that CNN, who you love, is on TikTok. Anderson Cooper, who you fucking love, and Rachel Maddow from MSNBC, who you fucking love, she's on TikTok too. So just because I learned it on TikTok doesn't mean it's wrong. So why don't you fucking Google it right now in front of me? So of course she does. She Googles it. And who's right? Me. I'm right. And then my dad has the fucking audacity to turn to me and says, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I am the only one doing something about it. First of all, I spent my afternoon doing what I thought I was supposed to do about it. I showed up to do something about it downtown today, and everybody else decided to have a fucking picnic about it. That's first of all. And second of all, I'm standing here teaching you what the fuck about it right now. I'm literally talking to you about it right fucking now, and you're acting as if I'm a fucking moron. Get fucked. And then we have this mom on here talking about bouncy houses, fucking bouncy houses at protests. Kids shouldn't even be at protests. They should not be there. Your dogs shouldn't be at protests. If you get arrested, what's going to happen to them? You think your kid is going to be okay? They're going to go in the fucking system. You think your dog is going to be okay? They're going to go to fucking kennel and get killed. They're going to be put down. Your kid is going to go into a system. Is that what you want? Fucking critical thinking here, you guys. I thought that we had listened to black people. I thought that was the whole fucking point of this. I thought the reason they were staying at home is because we had listened to them. That we had gotten the fire inside of us. That we had fucking listened to them. But no, we decided to be a bunch of fucking white people and stand around and talk about a bunch of fucking white people bullshit. I'm so fucking pissed off with us. We are the reason that everything is fucked. So sick of it.